Well, our trip to Germany started off very, very nicely. And to the plane, it was touch and go. We met a nice man from Cisco, entertained me on the trip, and Dagmar slept for some of the way, and it was nice. We got in there and to Landstadt, and we immediately start walking the hills. Lots and lots of hills, mountains, old construction. We walked and we walked. And the little town that Dagmar's father lives in is right in the Black Forest of Germany. The Black Forest is black because it's filled with pine, but in the last 50 or so years, the beech trees have come in, and so now the Black Forest is a multicolored, no longer black. And here's some Scottish highlands. I learned all about electric fences touching them, and you notice the mouse. This is a mouse, not a mole, and I found it has an elongated nose. The creatures around here all have kind of like an elfish elongation. And here are some of the beautiful, beautiful mountains of the Black Forest. And you can see what I'm saying about the forest getting lighter and lighter with these beech trees. Dagmar's climbing up to an old monument to this gentleman that stood for Germany. After World War I, Germany was taken over by, or occupied by France, and this was a man that fought for the rights of the Germans after that. People build little toy railroads on the side of their hills. They're very into decoration, and they spend an awful lot of time in the details of living. And they're very into solar power. This church, for example, has an entirely solar generated, and it goes back to the grid. And here's the inside of the church. This is in the local town, and it's very, very cute. It's all very cute, and everything is done with such elegance. And this is Dagmar's father watching some of our slideshows, and here I am showing the Black Mountains, Black Forest, and that's all the Black Forest, although it's quite mountainous. And it rained quite a bit of the time, and it was beautiful quite a bit of the time, and we walked quite a bit of the time. We walked here, we walked there. I was trying to sit down whenever possible. We walked by the cable cars. In this case, we took the cable car down, which was very nice. At the end of every walk, there's always a pub to eat at and drink at. And fortunately, many of these times we had some pretty good food. Planes all around. All kinds of air activity with birds and whatnot, and we walked. This means forest ghosts, and they carved them. Seems like if you have a chisel and a hammer and a piece of log, you're going to find a beautiful little sculpture. Typical German lunch. No. Now it's a typical German lunch, and I didn't have very many of them, but it was certainly wonderful to watch everybody. The ghosts of not knowing what the body parts that I'm eating are, I just can't handle it, but that's just me. We walked everywhere, and we tried to document as much as we could. Ghosts. Ooh. That's a ghost lizard, I guess, and I'm not quite sure what that is. That's of course a hedgehog, and there it is, the ghost spirit himself. And there are just fun things like that little tree house for kids to go up. Well, it was a wonderful walk, and here we are. We took a ride to Freiburg, and we're walking around Freiburg. From Freiburg is a college town where the university is, and you can see there's McDonald's. And here we are inside the church. Sorry for some of the photography, but it was quite an experience. These Catholic churches are very, very ornate, and what I think of in terms of quality of workmanship I see in the churches and in the homes and everywhere in Germany I went. The craftsmanship was incredible. In fact, these stained glasses that are in the church are donated by certain crafts, and the carpentry crafts and the tailor crafts. Fascinated by the ceilings, fascinated by the paintings. I was fascinated by everything. Look at the little skull in the center. Quite interesting how the church is so ornate above the eye level, kind of like guiding us upward. Very fascinating. Look at that. It was so spectacular inside. This is the pulpit area, and here are some of those stained glass planters. That's the Tailors Union, and this is the Carpenters Union, and there's a Bakers Union, and that's the Wine Merchants Union, and they donated the stained glasses. And here we are in Freiburg. Quite an interesting town. Some of the buildings dated back to the 1400s that I saw, and this is a little canal that goes right through the center of it. It's very amazing. Things on top of things. The street. This is wisteria all over the area. The streets were made for horse and buggy and not cars, and cars don't do very well, and many of the streets are closed off to cars because of it, and that's how they've dealt with it. And so there's a hustle bustle on the street because there's so many people and the parking. There's that canal. They put a cement alligator in there for fun. There he is again. Lots of things from Freiburg in terms of construction, and looking at the architecture here was just outrageous. Little cafes all over the place. Oh, this is dated 1392. Some of the places date back that far. You got to realize this is Europe, and it has such a rich and deep history when you consider there was only 17 years between World War I and World War II, and the Nazis occupied and did their damage all in under 10 years. And these people build things to last 500 years. And here we are on the way back from Freiburg, and you can see what a beautiful area it is, and how spectacular and spacious. And as we walked, we found a little snail, and we were grateful, a slug. We were grateful that we were moving a little bit faster than that slug. Got up in the morning and read some papers, and there's Dagmar's dad and Dagmar's stepmom. Then we visited Dagmar's mom here in the cemetery. In the cemetery, wow, it's old, and people have always been dying to get in. It's probably one of the few places. And we're talking about old. Of course, some newer people. I don't think that they allow Jews or gypsies in this particular cemetery yet, but maybe so. They're so integrated now. You never know. So as we continue our trip in Freiburg, we stop by the Apple store and notice that they sell apples in the grocery stores, and there's markets everywhere, and we were happy. Happy walking around, happy being there, happy exploring this great architecture, and great architecture it was. And here we are in the church again. It was such a different life experience than how we deal with things here in the United States. Everything was tongue and groove. The doors, the windows, everything fit together. There would be a wind thing. Here we are getting our tickets for the train tomorrow when we're going from Freiburg to Lahnstadt. which is where Dagmar's aunties and their family home is. And here we are in Dagmar's dad's house, and this represents a painting that they lost during the war, which was worth millions of dollars, confiscated. And here are some of their family crests. And their family dates back to 1462, the Dangle family. And that's the kids today, all of the nephews and nieces. And I'm just touring Dagmar's father's home, taking some pictures of their family, and that's a picture of that old Freiburg. Dagmar's dad was raised by Jews, and they had a textile business. Dagmar's dad didn't want to be one of the Führer's children, but the Jewish people that raised him went to their textile shop and made him a uniform and insisted he wear it so that he wasn't persecuted, and he would fit in. Not fitting in was the problem throughout, I don't know, all of history, as far as I can see. If you don't speak the right German, if you don't have the right place setting, these are all ways of fitting in and learning how to adapt. And it's very civilized in Europe, much more than the Wild Willy U.S., where we don't have the kinds of systems established and this kind of sophistication in our architecture, in our conversation, in our thoughts, as the Europeans seem to do. They don't understand depression because there's no time for depression. They fill their day with accomplishments, and these are all articles that Dagmar's dad brought back from Ghana. He was a doctor that started a hospital in Ghana, and that was his lovely wife, and this is his second wife, Crystal, who is also a very great woman. He's been very blessed with women in his life, and this is their living room. And as I said, he was a surgeon during the war. He went to medical school, and that's his home, and in and out, and his first experiences were that of sewing up the German soldiers as they came back on the trains. And then, of course, because of his affiliations with the Jews, they transferred him to Norway, where he spent most of the rest of the war, and then came back and got stationed, got an appointment starting this hospital in Ghana through the church, the Catholic Church, and the nuns helped him out. And Dagmar and Dagmar's sister have documented life in Ghana, and it was, I can't imagine what life was like going from having electricity and plumbing to no electricity and no indoor plumbing, and a primitive, elitist, separatist, all of the emotional changes that these two girls and the young man had to do. My word, all of the experiences that these folks have gone through. That was 1961, where they did a little nativity scene. But it was pretty primitive there, and the Ghanaians had individual tribal kings, and any king can marry as many women as he or she can afford. Actually, the first bungalow that the Hohenecks moved into was a barracks that was going to be one of the king's wives' buildings that he gave to Dr. Hoheneck for use of his family. And you can see that he was very valuable to them because he brought medicine, and the nuns brought religion, and there you have that situation. The nuns would probably be talking about God. In the meantime, the kids had their club and tried to be as upper class as they can, knowing what a primitive land they're living around. We've seen the movies, but can we imagine living the life? Wow. Anyhow, they did have an anniversary of the hospital, and Dagmar and Dagmar's brother went to the honors. Dagmar's dad was not well enough to go, but they were certainly celebrating the times that they spent at that hospital, and it was quite wonderful. And their lives. Oh, this is Dagmar's father and one of his and his sister before medical school. And here we are on the road above Dagmar's dad's home in the Black Forest, walking, looking at cows. I'm not touching fences anymore. I learned my lesson. You notice that cow looks like it could use some milk. Well, they have a outdoor milking situation for these dear little cows. They're very, very sweet, and a cow has to be milked, or the things will curdle, and that's just some fungus I found on a log. And there are birds around. This bird came back and forth in the lawn every morning with a couple of worms in his mouth going to its nest. Very sweet. And here we are by the house again. There are fishing water troughs for the cows. There's water walkways for people. There's the the portable cow milking trailer that the cows go in, and it's all pretty set up and pretty automatic, but still everything is by hand here. There's some little ponies that we found on the way, very sweet, dear little ponies. It was an interesting experience. That was a philosopher's walk with sayings from different philosophers along the way to think about it. We did, and we looked at all of the territories around and the way everything is built. And here we are in Landstadt, and we're this is after the train, and where are we here? Oh, we're on the train. We're on the train to Landstadt. It was quite a relaxing train ride, about 2.5 hours, and lots of different people on the train, people and babies and all kinds of stuff going on, things going by, and finally we made it to Landstadt, and here we are in the local butcher's place. Wiener Schnitzel, Schnitzel, Schnitzel. So we were visiting Dagmar's 2 aunts and stepsister. They're her 2 aunts, and the house that their family was raised in. This is the year 1841. That's when they did the remodel job on the house. That's the last remodel job. And here we are at her stepsister Eva's home with her husband Andreas and their child, Anna, and they just bought a new place, and we're remodeling it. Everything has to be very, very detailed remodel. Lots of blacktop has to be listed in order for cobblestones to be picked up, and all kinds of construction issues. And here we are in Landstadt at the old castle at the top, and stories from people carving different ghosts around the castle. And you can pretty much, this is the crest, castle crest, and that's a hotel that's built at the footing of the castle. And this is some birds of prey that were raised next door to Dagmar's aunt's home. And here we are out in an Italian restaurant, Dagmar and one of her aunts and another aunt with me. These aunts are in their late 80s, early 90s. And here's a document that one of their grandfathers put together showing Dagmar's family back to 1712 was the earliest time. And they had as many pictures as they could from the family. And you can see how the family hasn't changed that much in many, many years. That's Carl, the uncle that inspired Dagmar's father, Carl, to become a doctor. And there's Dagmar. Such a rich history, and they've done their darndest to document it and to keep their history and their heritage in their lives. Yes, they're German, and they served proudly in the German army, but not so proud of what the Germans did and not so proud of the Nazis. In fact, hated the Nazis because it was senseless. It was crazy. This area was occupied by France, and for the 17 years after World War I, it suffered, and when the Nazis came in, they were hopeful and soon to find out that things were even worse than before. And so when the Americans came in, they're quite thrilled. I was taken back because the Americans have quite a large base in Landstadt. In fact, most of the hospital people that needs hospital attention from Iraq or Afghanistan go to Landstadt, and it's I feel a little bit like an occupier, and we shouldn't be there. But everybody else is very, very happy that we're there because we are the Americans, and we're the ones renting the apartments, and we're the ones bringing income to the area. So who am I to say? Here's an example of an outside market. All it takes is a few carts, a meat cart, a fish cart, and a bakery cart, and a few stands of ready-made stuff. And we're set. Get a couple of plants, and it's a market, and it happens a lot. Here's Dagmar's sister, and Mita, and that was one of the things I was amazed. This is a document that I found stamped and ready to go, showing that the bearer, which was Dagmar's father, was an Aryan, purebred, not gypsy, not and no mental illness, and no suicides. You needed that in order to get married. And we're at picking up some wine at a winery on our way from Landstadt back to Dagmar's father's place. And we stopped for lunch along the way. It was very, very lovely after the wine. A very nice little town. There's so many little towns with 50 or 100 people that just come up along the way. Between here and there. Dagmar enjoyed the only ice cream I've seen her had in about a year, and she really enjoyed it. Gelato, that's Europe for you. So we stopped, and we wanted to pick up some asparagus. This is white asparagus, and it's grown quite differently than green asparagus. It's very bizarre. We did run into some amount of rain. In fact, the asparagus is covered so that it doesn't get wet or sunlight, and that's why it's white. There's some of the army planes going into Landstadt. Now we're back to Dagmar's father's, and we're just walking up the hill, seeing some snails do the pom-pom, as one of the kids said, and we had some fun with the kids, getting Dagmar's nephew and niece, one of the many, and Dagmar's sister-in-law, and Dagmar's boyfriend, and Dagmar. And we had a great time. We walked all the way up to the top. Of course, we had a good meal ahead of us, and Elizabeth was very excited to stand on that. At the place, we of course walked all the way up to the top, and we met Dagmar's father and her brother, and it was a wonderful lunch. We had a great time. Solar panels. We're back to Dagmar's dad's house, and we're having we're having a meal, and that's Jeff and Katharina, who's raised with Dagmar in Ghana, visiting. Jeff was from England, raised in New Guinea, I believe. That's Dagmar's brother, and we're at the top of the hill now. Those Scottish Highlanders, they were so fabulous. They were so cute. Notice how the hair is in his nose. Yeah, I had a good time. I had a really good time. And, there's an example of the squirrel with the ears, So here we are in front of Dagmar's dad's house, and we keep walking, and the town was beautiful. And in the shops, bicycles, 259 euros, 699 euros. But this is the thing that amazed me the most, is that the carts are all coin operated, and you get your coins back when you put it back in. So, of course, there's no carts on the street. It's all very neat. Dagmar visited her old boyfriend's mother, and we went in, and there she is with Dagmar's sister and I. Anyhow, we see these water troughs everywhere along the way, along with the little get your feet wet, and of course logs, wood cut everywhere because everybody uses wood to heat, and there's always these troughs for animals to drink water. There are very few fences, and the fences that are there are mostly the electric fences. I don't worry, I've learned my lesson, I think, on electrical fences. But wood is everywhere, and the Black Forest continues. Of course, as they cut the pines down, the beeches grow, and the Black Forest gets lighter and lighter. Lots of animals, lots of logging, and it's a cycle that's going to make the Black Forest like a light green forest before too long. Lots of minerals, lots of nature, and it will always be that way. Here's an example of a little waiting pond, and of course the solar is everywhere, and people store the wood everywhere. And here we are going down the steps to the bottom of our place where we stayed at Dagmar's dad's house. The meals were all very organized, and the books are very organized, and Dagmar's dad's mind was still at 90, very organized and together. And I was able to get a number of sessions with him. I'm very happy, and we're his grandson, Carl, is editing it right now, and he'll edit it using a lot of these slides and the video that I took as well. So it will be a little piece that I'll post alongside of this little piece. We stopped in. There are cuckoo clocks everywhere, and now we're in Zurich. We flown to Zurich, and this is a Renault, which I was fascinated with, and Dagmar's sister-in-law, who picked us up from the Zurich airport and took us to the airport on the way home. And here we are going to the airport on the way home. We passed by a little Jewish community, and we're going to Dagmar's brother's house on our way home. And the architecture in his house in Zurich was pretty spectacular. The windows are all interlocked and solid. When you lock a door, you couldn't get into the door from the other side unless you put it in with a battering ram. We took a cable ride up to the top of the hill that Carl, Dagmar's brother and sister-in-law, live on, and as it goes up, you can see their house. There it is right there, and their backyard. We go up the cable car all the way to the top, and it was spectacular. We only had one day there, so we took full advantage of it with these spectacular walks and brand new cable cars. I think the ride was like $10 for the ride up, which is astronomical since it was only a 5-minute ride. But everything, all the prices in Europe I found to be moderately high, and with the exchange rate very high. I wouldn't recommend to go to Europe until the dollar gets a little bit stronger, unless, of course, you have a lot of money, which we didn't. Thank goodness we stayed with Dagmar's family for the entire time, which made it quite cost-effective. And nice to be with family, and nice to be honored and accepted by family. All in all, I'd say it was a great trip, other than my own cold that I had through the entire experience, giving me lots of coughing and as many naps as I could take. And here we are at the top, and again, there's always a restaurant or, bar or some reward for the walking, and it's always very festive. And the signage there is very interesting. I've not been able to figure it out, but here we are. As I said, there's crops, wineries all over. None of them are fenced, so we're free to walk through anything. And here at the top, there are some hang gliders there, or I call them paragliders more. And very beautiful. This isn't a cemetery. This is the area that will soon be benches and tables for outside service at another one of the little restaurants around. And the flowers were very beautiful. Very beautiful, and I'd never seen some of these things. Anyhow, here we are, getting ready to go back, looking at our roads and our possibilities. Maps sort of tell the story. There we are in relationship to downtown Zurich. And examining the flora and the bugs laying it making eggs on leaves. The flowers, the area, everything was spectacularly alive. The path was always filled with mountain bikers, and that was very, very nice. Nice to see the mountain bikers. And here we are, getting ready to go back down and have a fondue kind of dinner. Everyone was tired but happy. Still appreciating all the flowers and the colors. And the plumbing. Gosh, the plumbing is incredible. And here we are with a fondue supper. An interesting way of doing it. Individual trays, you put them underneath, and it heats it up, melts the cheese. You have a little cheese souffle or a pizza without crust. This gives you an idea of the plumbing. It's all heated by water heat, and I couldn't figure it out. It was incredibly detailed. And here we are, after an exhausting 12 days, getting ready to go home, on our way to the airport, and ready to sit down and wait and have a nice ride home. It was a nice ride home. The worst part of it was customs coming into the United States. The airlines and customs, they just don't have their act together. They don't really know how to work together. It was very, very difficult. So we're saying a fond farewell to this lovely, lovely place. And that's it.